Hi everyone, in this tutorial, we are going to look at how to set up a robust JSON Web Token authentication system in a NestJS application. We'll be using Passport for strategy management, Bcrypt for hashing, and Prisma as our ORM to talk to the database. To get started, we need to install few packages. Run this command in your terminal. npm add NestJS JWT, NestJS Passport, passport-jwt, passport local, Bcrypt, npm install deal, attach passport-jwt, attach passport local. This will provide a core module for handling tokens, strategy hook, and a TypeScript task need for a clean environment. With our dependency ready, let's dive into the heart of our auth workflow, the AuthService. We inject both the JWT service and our Prisma service into the constructor. Thus, we expose two primary methods, validateUser and login. In validateUser, we perform our security checks. First, we ensure the incoming credentials are empty. Then we query our database using Prisma to find the user by their email address. If the user exists, we use Bcrypt compare to safely check if the raw text password matches our encrypted database hash. If everything checks out, return a clean user object containing only the ID and email. Notice that we explicitly avoid turning the user password string here to prevent accidental exposure down the line. The second method is login. Once a user verified, the function handles token generation, graph a payload containing the user email, and a standard subject field assigned to the user ID. We then pass this payload to this .jwt service.sign to issue our signed token. Great! So we now have a login method and can acquire a token. But how do we use that token to secure the endpoints? That's where our JWT strategy comes in. By extending passport strategy and choosing the standard JWT strategy, Passport takes care of the heavy lifting. In our constructor supercall, we train the engine to extract our token from incoming request headers using the standard variable token scheme. We also enforce token expiration checking and supply the same secret key used by our token module. If the incoming signature is authentic and the token hasn't expired, Passport automatically decodes it and execute our validate method. Whatever object we return here will be appended automatically by NestJS right into the request object as rig.user. This makes securing structural endpoint extremely simple across your other controllers using standard guard like use auth JWT. Next, let's expose the login logic to the web using an AuthController. We set our post route mapping to /auth/login. Inside our handler, we put the username and password properties out of the request body and pass them directly to our service validation engine. If our service fails to authenticate the user or return null, we intercept that immediately and throw a standard NestJS unauthorized exception. If the authentication succeeds, we pass the valid user signature down to the login function, which immediately write out our signed access token back to the client. With our controller and service ready, let's configure the AppModule. This is where we wire everything together. We import the passport module and register the default strategy as JWT. Next, we register the JWT module and provide a secret key along with an expiration window. In this case, 1 hour. Always keep your secret sync out of your code base. Hard coding it like this is fine for local development, but make sure to load it while you configure service from an environment file when moving toward production. Finally, we list our AuthService and JWT Strategy under providers and link our AuthController. Now that our authentication logic is solid, we need to write it up globally and apply it to our existing feature. First, inside your main AppModule, make sure to add AuthModule to your imports array. This register your controllers and authentication hooks so NestJS can discover them on application startup. Now, let's open our user controller and see how it is easy to protect our resources. At the class level, you can see we already applying a global format while use interceptor with response interceptor to standardize our outgoing payload. To secure our data, we focus on the find all route by adding the use guard or guard JWT decorator right above our get handler. We instruct NestJS to intercept any incoming request hitting this route. When a request arrives, passport fire our JWT strategy. It checks the authorization header for a valid bearer token, decode the claims, and verify the signature. If the token is valid or missing, NestJS automatically blocks the request and reply with a 401 unauthorized status before the header code even runs. If it succeeds, the code executes, print our log, and return the list of users. Now that our configuration is complete and our modules are wired up, it's time to boot up the application and verify that our authentication cycle works exactly as intended. Let's start the server and jump over to the Postman. Our first step is to hit the auth login endpoint using a pull request. We pass our test user credential inside the first body. However, on our first attempt, we encounter an error. Don't panic, this is a great opportunity to debug. Looking closely at our execution logs and our validation logic, we can see a small typo. Inside the AuthController, we accidentally mapped the incoming request parameter to body passport instead of body password. Because our service is up and runs successfully, NestJS catches the issue and we can quickly fix the parameter binding in our controller code. With that quick fix deploy, let's execute the login request once more. This time, everything runs perfectly and the server returns a successfully response containing our freshly signed access token. Go ahead and copy this token value as we need it to authenticate our subsequent requests. Next, let's attempt to fetch our protected resource by sending a GET request to the user endpoint. First, to ensure our JWT guard is doing its job, we waited the root using an incorrect or malformed token in our authorization header. As expected, our passport-jwt intercept the request, block access to the controller, and threw a clean 401 unauthorized status code. This proves our root is successfully locked down. Finally, let's track the correct token. In Postman, we pass the valid access token we generated earlier. When we fire off the request this time, the guard validates the signature seamlessly, allow the request through to the controller handler, and we successfully receive our full list of users. Our end-to-end JWT authentication architecture is now fully verified and ready for production. And that's all there is to it. You now have a complete end-to-end token validation loop running inside an NestJS structure. If you found this setup guide helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more backend architecture walkthroughs. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or architectural challenges. See you in the next video.